Hello, this is the video for Chapter 7, which is the valuation of corporations and stock. Now, what if we wanted to make it a little more realistic in that we estimate the cash flows for a given period of time, and then we use some assumption to move to infinity. But the near term is estimated with a little bit more precision. For years 1 through 4, these cash flows, negative 20, 80, 100, 110. Then we're going to look at constant growth rate of 5% beyond year 4. So this is that slight refinement, and we'll have no change in the other aspects, just to show one assumption loosened, if you will, and that is this free cash flow. So to use this method, we have this notion of a horizon value, which is what is the value at the end of your planning period and the value for the rest of the time horizon. It's also called many times the terminal values. The terminal value is at the end of the operating cash flows. You sell it for one big amount of money, right? It's the same idea. So here, our example, we had 4 years of cash flows that we estimated. But what happens after that? So we have to take year 5 cash flows and use that same formula, bring it back to T4 value. So that's what we do. And here's what the formula looks like. Horizon value equals the value of operations at time t, that's just to make it more explicit, which is the free cash flow for next year. So it's t, and it would grow one more year. So essentially its numerator is actually free cash flow for t plus 1, right? This is t, adding one more year growth means t plus 1. And we divided it by WACC minus g. And if we have this, then we're able to project the first 4 years specifically and the rest of time into one number using this constant growth formula. Now, there's one mistake that students often make, and it's right here, is to use the free cash flow for t and not remember to grow it to t plus 1. This is by far the most common mistake. All right, so we are going to hop to Excel for the and we have the assumptions here, and on the right I've brought over some of the format that we've seen previously that showed the static information. We'll look at that later. We'll start here. This is the important part. So here we laid out years 1, 2, 3, 4, carried the numbers over, minus 20, 80, etc. And we're going to do this horizon value right here first. So horizon value equals the value of free cash flow for the next year divided by WACC minus g. So let's start with the numerator. The free cash flow for time t, or 4 in this case, is 110. And we have to multiply that times 1 plus the growth rate, which is here, 5%. So that's 115 million. The denominator is equal to the WACC minus the long-term growth rate, or long run. This number divided by this number is the horizon value, 1,155,000. So what we'll do next, just do this, is pull together the PVs. All right, so let's start with the present value of this cash flow, which is negative 20 divided by 1 plus the WACC, and we'll just lock that with an F4 raised to the power of year 1. Do the same for the other 3 years. So it's this divided by, open parens, 1 plus WACC raised to the second power. And for third year, it's 100 divided by 1 plus WACC raised to the third power. And finally the fourth, which is 110 divided by 1 plus WACC raised to the fourth power. And the value of the horizon is the same thing. We now have the horizon value, and we will do plus horizon value divided by, you guessed it, 1 plus the WACC raised to the fourth power. And if we sum those, we get the value of operations. which is comprised of the PVs of 1, 2, 3, 4 years plus this horizon value. All right, so the value of operations, we'll just do this, is 831. We still have $100, so we would add that, plus that, plus that. And we subtract from it the debt. And then we subtract from that the preferred. And that gets us the value of common equity. And we divide by 10, 10 being 10 million shares. Divide by that. And this is per share. Okay, so this is a refinement of the technique that we saw in the prior tab. And the refinement is, rather than using one number to get the present value, we use a series of projections here. And still at the end, we use one big assumption, right? But at least we had the first 3 years with a more precise estimation of free cash flows.